Guys, not to be whatever, but I'm currently ranked B5 in Sparking Zero. That's my main right there. I was switching between him and Ultimate Gohan. I've been using Super Saiyan 2 Adult Gohan. This game is top tier. If anybody wants to play, hit me up. Welcome back to The Budget Gourmet. If you're new here, I try to help you and your family create delicious meals, all while saving a little bit of cash. It is cold outside, which is why I am inside for currently filming this intro video. As you know, that I try to make all of my intros after I have created the recipe and done that main part of the video. This recipe, it was all right. I got the recipe inspiration, almost essentially all of it, from amazing cooking guy named Donald Skahan. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name right. And I will link his channel and the original video down below in the description. Follow him. He makes things so simple, so easy. Plus his accent is awesome as well. It is a chicken stew that we are making today. A beautiful chicken stew with rosemary and sage, along with some cheddar dumplings. This recipe has the ability to be absolutely delicious. I am just prone to mistakes. Try not to mess up like I did. I'll be getting into more of that in the video, in the voiceover part. Also wanted to say thank you for, we have surpassed 150 subscribers. It's just crazy that 150 of you are subscribed and are continuing to show support, and it's just incredible and insane. I just thank you guys so much for continuing to watch. Let me know down in the comments other recipes you'd like to see, different suggestions, maybe ways on how I could improve. Let's just try to build a community on this platform to where we are helping everybody out and sharing recipes and, you know, maybe sharing some of your childhood budget meals, as it were. That would just be really awesome. Let's get into making chicken stew with cheddar dumplings. Woohoo!
All right, it is time now to go over our ingredients. Starting off, we have some all-natural chicken thighs with the bone and skin on. I have about 8 chicken thighs here. Some chicken stock. I have 2 onions here, but I only used 1, the larger of the 2. Carrots. Celery. Some coarse kosher salt. Black pepper. Self-rising flour, and I couldn't find Irish cheddar. It would have been a lot better probably, but I have New York here, so potato tomato. Next, some buttermilk, gourmet, and some butter. Unsalted, I have some fresh rosemary and sage here as well. We're just going to be starting out by honing our knife edge here before we prep our ingredients. I'm going to get a bag so I can put all of my carrot shavings in there. I'm just going to wash my carrots first, and we're going to peel them. I used probably about 5 good-sized carrots here, and I think that was plenty for this dish. Now moving on to the actual cutting of our carrots. I'm just trying to make little bite-sized pieces here. I want them all to be as uniform as they possibly can. Obviously not everything is perfect. Once I reach a certain point where my carrot starts becoming too thick, you'll notice I'm going to chop it in half and cut it again. This is just going to help keep all the pieces uniform and help with even cooking time. Now it is time to move on to our celery. I used about 5 pieces of celery as well. I just gave them a good wash and just cut them up like you'll be seeing here. I try to keep my vegetables a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker, because as they're going to be stewing for a while, I don't want my vegetables to turn into absolute mush. For me, I like my vegetables to still have a little bit of crunch to them. Moving on to the last big chopping bit of our mise en place, we're just going to be taking care of our red onion here. I'm just going to be dicing this up. Guys, if you do not know how to dice an onion, please look it up and learn from a professional. They will tell you how to do it better and safer and quicker. Do you really want to be taking chopping advice from a guy that cut his finger open chopping parsley? I don't think so. I'm still continuing to learn and work on my knife skills all the time, and I don't think I'll ever stop learning. It's important to just take your time and work on technique rather than speed, as I learned the hard way. Now that all our vegetables are ready to go and are all chopped up, it's time to move on to the accoutrements. The only thing I will be adding to our actual stew as it's cooking is my fresh sage and rosemary here. I'm just doing a rough chop of both of those, just mixing them together, and we're going to be adding this to our stew, and I just think that these are the flavors of fall, and they're going to just add wonderful fragrancy and just bring the whole dish together. Okay, so now it's time to prep our chicken. I took it out of my fridge 30 minutes prior to this to let it come up to room temp, and you'll see here I'm just removing some of that excess skin. The only seasonings I'm really going to be using throughout this dish are just salt and pepper. I'm going to generously salt our chicken thighs on one side, and I'm going to add pepper as well. I can season the other side once they are in our Dutch oven. I am just going to be getting my Dutch oven on high heat here so it can start warming up. After it is warm and ready to go, I'm going to add a big glove of neutral oil, and I'm laying my chicken thighs skin side down, and you'll know that it's hot enough when you hear that chicken sizzle. I'm really wanting this skin and fat to really render down and get crisp, and it's just going to add another layer of beautiful flavor to our stew and make it just that much more intense. After our chicken thighs have been placed in our pan, now is our opportunity to season the other side. Again, just simple salt and some black pepper. I flipped my chicken after about 3 to 4 minutes of cook time. Your chicken will sort of let you know when it wants to be flipped, as if it's still sticking, it probably isn't ready to be flipped yet, but as it starts to crisp up, it'll naturally release, and then you know it's time to flip. You're going to repeat this process until all of your chicken is cooked, but after about 3 to 4 minutes on each side, our chicken is beautifully browned, and you'll notice that gorgeous fond at the bottom of our pan, and we're going to be using all of that and scraping all of that up to be able to build up even more flavor for our stew. Here I'm adding all of our vegetables, and I have reduced the heat. The natural moisture in our veggies is going to be able to loosen up all of that browning at the bottom. The only thing you're looking for here as far as cooking goes is to scrape up all of those brown bits at the bottom and just allow your veggies to soften up just a little bit. I'd probably say a few minutes at most. Once your veggies have softened up a bit and all of that beautiful fond has been scraped up, I'm going to be adding a little bit of butter. Now, this was a pivotal moment in the recipe for me, and one where I made a pretty big mistake. In order to thicken our stew, we're going to be adding some flour. Now, this is where I believe, in my case, I made a mistake, is that I added way too much flour. Probably only should have added a couple tablespoons, but you know, hindsight is 20/20. It definitely made my stew thick, however, the flour started burning at the bottom of my pan, which was not good. I was able to salvage the stew, but do not make my mistake. Again, I will link the original video down in the description below, and you just follow his recipe. This was a learning process for me, but I ate it anyway, because that's just how it goes sometimes. Not every recipe is perfect, but I already spent the money on this, and I wasn't going to waste it, and I had nothing else for dinner, so I just tried to salvage what I could, and try to make it work to the best of my ability, because my family was hungry and I had nothing else for dinner. So, but honestly, even though it was a bit burnt, it still tasted pretty decent. But anyway, once our flour was mixed in and our chicken stock was added, I'm going to be adding all of our chicken thighs and making sure they're all submerged in our stock here, just so they can all cook. And I'm going to be adding the final touch, which is our rosemary and thyme, and we're going to be letting that simmer away for 30 to 35 minutes. Okay, so hopefully by this step in the process you have done everything correctly and have not made the same mistakes that I did. But while our stew is cooking, we're going to be making our dumplings. I'm going to be shredding about half a block of our cheese here, so about 4 ounces. And after our cheese is ready to go, I'm just going to be mixing 1 cup of flour, a whole stick of butter, adding our cheese, and half a cup of buttermilk into our bowl as well. After all of the ingredients are added, you're just going to want to mix this with your hands until you form a nice little dough ball. Remember to have your stew on a low heat so it can simmer away. I think my heat was just too high. After about 30 to 35 minutes, your stew should have thickened up nicely, and all he did was he just broke his dough ball up into little pieces and just plopped them in. This was a second mistake I had. I had doubled his recipe without necessarily realizing it. I had 8 chicken thighs and he had 4 chicken thighs, so I should have doubled the dumpling recipe as well. So if you're going to double it, just make sure you double everything and just not one component. After your dough has been added, let it simmer for another 20 to 25 minutes until everything is finished cooking. And that is really it. I persevered through this. It definitely could have been a lot better. Probably give this about a 6 out of 10. Probably would have been a 10 out of 10 if I did everything correctly. Other things I would have changed, I probably would have used a mild cheddar instead of a sharp cheddar. Here I'm just plating it up and adding a little bit of parsley. And since there wasn't much dumplings because I didn't double the recipe, I added some toasted bread. All things considered, this wasn't that bad. It was warm, it was hearty, and there were some good elements. My family still did enjoy this, and my kids ate it, which is a bonus, so try not to make the same mistakes I did. That's all for this week's video. Hope you make it, hope you like it, hope you do better than me. I'll see you next week with a brand new video.